All right, guys, welcome to another CyberSec Tuesday. Tonight we have Cool Cat here doing a talk on our Knoll 404 CTF coming up this weekend. He's going to be talking about preparing yourself and how to get started with that. Before we kick things off, I do want to do a shout out for our sponsor, ArcLight 6. They are our newest sponsor. ArcLight 6, they deliver a risk-based, security-first engineering solution that protects systems of their clients from the ground up. If you're interested in their services, they are a cybersecurity consulting firm that focuses in software development, compliance, and other areas as well. Check them out at arclight6.com. But other than that, Cool Cat, if you want to take it away, it's all yours.
Cool. Thanks. Yep. So I'm Cool Cat, guys. Probably saw me do a talk, a few weeks ago about persistence. In line of our capture the flag competition coming up this weekend. Again, thanks to ArcLight 6. So let's go ahead and get started. Cool. All right. So today we're just going to be talking about, what is a CTF? We're going to cover virtual machine and host setup, different tools and artifacts that you may see within CTF or RCTF or any CTF. And then I've got some final documentation and some notes that that may help and go a long way. And then I want to close it off with just kind of an open discussion on anybody that has anything. I know there might be some new people here that may not have done a CTF, or maybe you're seasoned and you've done thousands of CTFs that you might be able to help somebody out with. Cool. So what is a capture the flag, right? So capture the flag events are essentially a way for us to be able to test and, build out our skills as cybersecurity professionals. It's a great way to learn. It's a great way to network. They have, different styles like Jeopardy, King of the Hill, theme-based. I kind of put ours coming up this weekend into it's not necessarily King of the Hill, but it's also point-based, but it's more correlated with a theme-based, as to where we built out the CTF in theme of an actual APT. So following the same tactics, techniques, procedures, we're going to be doing the same type of thing that you're going to see in the real world, which is really cool. Does anybody have any questions on what any other additional, aspects of what a CTF might pertain? Cool. Bunch of CTFs I have listed here that you can actually attend. Pico CTF is great especially for beginners. It's beginner friendly. They have a lot of free, different challenges and courses that can kind of take you through and walk you through whether it's, cryptography, forensics, web exploitation. They've got a bunch of them. Try Hack Me, the advent of cyber. That's a really good one. I think Hack the Box also has an advent, especially their advent calendar challenge in December that builds up to the new year. The National Cyber League, that's a great one. That's one I do. I do that every season. They do it in the spring and the fall, and I think I go away with a new skill or a new tool or something that I learn every time I go to that one. That's great for beginners and all the way up to people that have been doing this for years. Over the Wire is another great one. They've got a whole list that you should check out, and then of course we've got Knoll 404 that's coming up. So going into VM support, there's different ways you kind of want to, build out your CTF box. You can always use it on your, your Windows or your host Linux machine, but we encourage that you, build out an isolated environment. Our CTF coming up you're not going to need an isolated environment, but it's always nice to have. So whether you're using VMware Pro or Oracle VirtualBox, you can even use the cloud. That does cost, a lot more money than Oracle Box or VMware. There's Flare VM, which is it's pre-built Windows VM with different tools, scripting capabilities. They use it a lot in reverse engineering in line of not in line. next to Remnux, which is also for reverse engineering. But that's a Linux box, which takes us over, like Kali, Parrot. And then I love the Sift workstation. That's what I use I use that daily. That's built out by Sans. You can download it for free if you create a Sans account. It's just a Ubuntu, I think, 24 or 22 version. But that also comes preloaded with forensics tools. And then you can build your own over time. What does that look like? Pretty much starting with blank Windows box or Linux machine. And as you go through these CTFs and these challenges and come across these different tools and techniques and writing out different scripts that you want to add, I recommend keeping all that in one container or one VM and then creating a snapshot. Make sure you keep updated snapshots, keep a copy of it. I don't know if this is just me, but it's just a lot of times I'll be doing a CTF challenge and I will have an issue where I had a previous snapshot and it just fails to load. And if I don't have a saved copy, then everything goes haywire and I got to start from scratch. So take a snapshot, make sure your VM's updated. Donnie can attest to that. If you don't update your VM, you may be struggling before a CTF challenge. And it can take a lot of time and fun away from the challenge because you're sitting there trying to fix and troubleshoot your own stuff instead of the actual challenge at hand. Test your tools out prior. There's a bunch of different tools that we're going to be going over to. Most of them are pretty basic, but they'll be it's worth the testing and make sure they work, even if it's just opening up. And then if you're doing something like hack the box, make sure you've got a good VPN connection and making sure that's there. Cool. Some of the tools we're going to go into tonight are going to be Eric Zimmerman tools, Nearsoft browser for primarily history, browser history, excuse me. And then SQLDB, which is again kind of like browser history, but along with like bookmarks and other aspects that it uses. Event Log Explorer, which is an alternative to the nasty Windows event viewer. And then we'll go into Registry Explorer and Timeline Explorer, which are also Eric Zimmerman tools. Does anybody have any questions so far? Cool.
Yeah, I'll just second the fact of making sure you're up to date on your stuff before the CTF, because that's the biggest thing I always see is everybody's trying to update theirs during the CTF, and you can get screwed really fast.
Yep, I've definitely done it last year at DEF CON for the Blue Team CTF. I don't know if it was a VM issue or something that I was doing wrong, but I think I spent probably about 2 hours out of a 4-hour CTF of troubleshooting my own stuff.
Yeah, this year on NCL's individual, I was trying to troubleshoot something that I didn't check out beforehand and ended up spending like a total of like 4 hours of the CTF troubleshooting and then just deciding to wipe everything and start over. No fun.
No fun at all. So yeah, make sure that's up to date. And when we get into the open discussion, if anybody wants to, see how we can set up our own or pull one down that's pre-built, feel free. Cool. So going into the Eric Zimmerman tools, we're going to start with EVTX eCMD. It's always a tongue twister for me. That is the event logs. So what we are doing here is, you can see this top line, the first bullet point I have for the actual command. We're going to run the Eric Zimmerman EVTX eCMD. We're going to point it to the file or the log, the specific file log that we're doing, whether that's your application, that's your security, or your system, which are the three main ones. And then we're going to output those logs actually to a CSV format. So it's a lot easier to read. It's a lot easier to view. We can, when we get into timeline viewer, we'll be able to actually sort those and correlate the events with timelines a lot easier and a lot faster than you would in an Excel sheet. So it just makes it all around easier. You can parse it, you can script it, you can do a lot with it. So I got this cool little picture of Rick and Morty. If you're not too crazy about what an event log really is or what it represents, think of it as when a cop goes on the radio and is like, hey, I got a 761 for whatever, that event ID means something. And so us as forensics analysts, we need to know what that meaning is, right? Whether we're Googling it, whether we already know, but I thought I'd add this little meme in here. So if you've seen this episode of Rick and Morty, the squirrels are always like, run a possible 198 on a possible Doolittle. So I thought it was a little funny, but a little joke in there. Any questions on event logs? Cool. All right. So now we've got MFT ECMD. So the MFT is the master file table. The master file table is kind of a what is or what was files, executable scripts, PNGs that were at one point, whether or not they are now still active, allocated within the actual, the hard drive or memory within the actual host itself. Whether it's there or it's not there. So it may still show up if it's not there. The difference between it, showing up as it's not still there, could be, a matter of a few seconds, a few minutes. Sometimes an unallocation can stay in the master file table for, weeks. It just depends on how much stuff you're writing to your host and how much stuff, is being read and written to the host. Again, it's the same file format. All Eric Zimmerman tools follow the same format where you've got the actual tool that we're running. So MFT ECMD, the file, which is $MFT. There was one caveat to this. If you're running this in PowerShell, in between the slash and the $, I always like to put like a what is it? The code tick and right below the escape button. I'm not exactly sure what that's called, but that will escape out that $, and let you actually call the $MFT to parse that into a CSV file.
Are you referring to the tilde?
Yes.
Or tilde?
Yep. I was like, I cannot think of it at this moment.
Is it actually do you have to do like shift to get the tilde, or is it just a backtick?
I believe it's shift.
It's with shift?
Yep.
Is that PowerShell just reading it as like a
yeah, PowerShell's
parameter?
PowerShell's weird. I must read it as parameter, or I don't think it'd be an object, no. Any questions on the master file table? And maybe why we would parse it for forensics. Cool. Moving on.
Wait.
Oh,
Would
go for
we
it.
so thank you. This is good. I'm curious, would this help, like, let's say a ransomware case came through and like ransomed a bunch of files and you're like, crap, I really wish I knew what the file name was before that. Could this help with that?
It totally could if the attackers aren't aware of your $MFT. Most are, so they're probably going to encrypt everything, besides the files that they need and the files that they need access to keep the system at least alive, and keep them in control. You may be able to see that, see something like that in the our upcoming CTF. I don't know. Maybe you'll have to go look and see if you can parse the master file table.
Nice. Thanks, man.
Another side note that I didn't add in this, but is a good one, is I don't have the exact path, but I'll give you guys some documentation towards the end. Is the $, or the $J or 4J log file. It is a kind of like it's similar in the aspects that it'll, you can see different files that existed on the system, and maybe even times they were deleted. I believe it shows that. And that may be another aspect to go searching for, file existence. That is not as aware to attackers, but it is time limited. Moving on. And that brings us to prefetch. So prefetch is your quick links, right? So if you go to your file explorer, prefetch is going to have so let's say you open up a Word document or your recent documents, That's what your prefetch is. Like, oh, I see, Donnie's accessed this Word document, 3 times in the last hour. I'm gonna go ahead and put this to his recent documents. That way, I can grab it faster, pull it out of memory, pull it out of cache, and that way we're not wasting time on what we're looking for. But every time, that's got to be stored somewhere. So we can parse that within, the Windows prefetch, and then it can go by this. It'll go by the specific application name that's being parsed. So for one word, window Word documents. Excuse me, getting tongue tied. It'll be like maybe one word, and then it'll be a dash hash. The asterisk I have here, the star is the hash of the file or the executable, and then it'll be the .pf for prefetch. And then following along with our experiment tools again, continuously keeping that command execution the same across all tools that he has. So again, increases performance, has date and time fields. One thing to keep aware of when you're running the PECMD tool is that you want to subtract 10 seconds, from the start and end of the execution. And you'll see the output when you run the tool. And this is because it takes about 10 seconds to really, I'm trying to word this right, like sync up, I guess, with the actual system itself. So there's a delay in, what's running versus what's actually there. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. Oh, and then if you did a great reference for this to use a -D for the Eric Zimmerman command. That way we can parse, all the prefetch files or all the applications at once and put, do the whole directory of prefetch and not just one application there.
Okay. So, so I get this clear in my mind. So, like, let's say I'm a user, I RDP to a machine. I decided to click on my browser to open that. Maybe I opened up some other kind of application. All this prefetch stuff would be like, oh, he opened up Firefox. That person opened up Paint. Then they did this at this time. So I could kind of show like a behavior of like if it was the attacker what they were doing.
Yep, you totally could. If you see a executable in prefetch, actually I don't know why I didn't think of that this earlier. If you see an application or an exe or anything like showing up within the prefetch directory, or the output that we're putting here, that executable was executed at least one time. It doesn't have an occurrence or a count of like, oh, this was executed 12 times at this time. It'll show like, yep, the most recent time was executed at this time. And so at least there was a minimum of one time it was executed. So you might get lucky and see this ransomware.exe got executed at this time, and then you can kind of go hunt down and see okay, where was this executed, and they kind of follow the pivot trail, if you will.
Ah, yeah, that's a great call out. Yeah, that it's like every time you see the prefetch, it's just the last time it was actually calling whatever program it was. Not every time. Nice.
Correct. Cool. Moving on. And then we got shimcache parser. Cool. So shimcache is a little weird. It's kind of like the cousin of amcache, but it's not the same. I won't be covering amcache, but we can see it later. I'll show you. For the experiment tool, we do the apt compact cache parser. That's just because that's the directory that's stored in, or I guess a file system. And it's a cache that allows for older apps to be run, and so you're able to gosh, I always hate explaining shimcache. It allows like Windows to better determine the better way to run it. So you may get lucky and see 32-bit applications being executed through the shimcache. Cool.
What's a shim?
I don't really actually know why they call it that, but maybe that's something to do some research on. Cool. Oh, I guess it is
Really?
pretty amcache. Oh.
Where the programmers at? What's a shim, guys?
All right. Amcache. Amcache, gonna run it the same way. And Amcache is considered a Hive, so we've got that .hve extension, but it's similar to Shimcache where it tracks applications, executables, drivers. But what's great about this artifact is that it tracks and keeps the SHA-1 hash. So if you run this Eric Zimmerman tool for the AppCache or Amcache parser, you will see the SHA-1 hash associated with that executable. When you're going through an investigation or a CTF, I love to check the unallocated files, CSV first. That's like my go-to because it shows it it's going to show all the stuff that may not be recognized or something hiding in memory or something that's hopefully going to stand out over like shortcuts, which would be maybe your prefetch or your LNKs that you're going to see in there. And then binaries, of course, they're great to check, but I definitely love starting with unallocated.
It's bridge code. It's like a small piece of code, like a stub kind of, but it bridges two different components.
You're
That's
talking
gonna kill
about
me.
Dunny?
Yeah, sorry. It's gonna kill me.
No worries. All right, moving on. Cool. All right, so this brings us to Registry Explorer, which is a fun tool. So for those of you who don't know what the registry is in Windows, it is essentially how Windows works. It's where everything's stored. It's everything and anything that's worked there. It is the developer's wild, wild west. And so we use Registry Explorer to kind of tame that and be able to actually put it into a readable format. If you go look on your Windows box at home, and try to read the registry without Registry Explorer, everything's going to be garbled. Some things will be base64 encoded. I'm 99% sure that there's a artifact in here, one of these files that are ROT13. Why? I don't know. Nothing's standardized. The registry is still to be completely explored, which is insane to think about that and how big this, the registry on, just a laptop really is. Registry Explorer is also an Eric Zimmerman tool. But if you can see on the right-hand side, there's we're up here in the root directory, control set 01, go to control, and then we've got the subhive of computer name, and then another subhive of computer name, and then what you can't see on the screen is, on the right side where it would actually output like, yep, this is where the computer name is stored in the registry or in the computer. So when you go into your settings and you set your computer name, this is where it's actually stored. There's different artifacts in here for forensics that we'll go over towards the end that you'll be able to correlate. Okay, like if I wanted to find, a file name or, network connections that were called out, or maybe there was a deleted registry, Registry Explorer, or not registry, deleted Hive. In the registry, we call these files and folders hives. So Registry Explorer allows us to see deleted hives possibly, which is, great. Registry Explorer also does have a command line version for RECMD, which we can, use for scripting and other things. And then this other image here, I've got, the different common registries that we have laid out. So we've got, SAM Hive security, software and system. Any questions here?
Really curious. What do you mean by still not fully explored? Like the registry system itself from Microsoft?
Yes.
Like
So
there's no documentation on the API of that? Or
sorry. No, go ahead.
No, I was just sorry. Go on.
So yep, it still hasn't been explored. That's why we call it the Wild Wild West. There are registry hives that we still don't know what it does. There are registry hives that they're always adding to the registry. So Microsoft likes to do this thing where, for example, like device classes on the screen, for example, right? That may say device classes. You go into it and it shows different GUIDs and different aspects, but in reality, it 3 years down the road after the developers published it, we may find out that device classes actually correlates to GUI graphics within applications. It means it's very just kind of thrown in there, and they don't take anything out. They just keep adding and adding and adding and adding. which is it's insane. So that's why it's one of those never-ending phenomenons. I love this the saying when I was in the army. It's kind of like a box with a bigger box inside of it, with a bigger box inside of that, with a bigger box inside of that, and it's just never
Like the
ends.
Russian dolls.
Yep. But inside of it, it's this fifth, fourth dimensional bubble blowing contest that never ends.
Fair enough. No, okay, thank you. I was just curious.
Nope.
Yeah,
you're good.
I want to add on top of that because it's like closed source, right? Microsoft is closed source. And so you could think of it as like when they patched, I forget what was it, Print Nightmare. They patched it, and when they patched it by default. So you no longer had to have it in a registry key. It's actually like not configured in the background where you can't see it. Yeah, where before you actually would have to like create the key, create the registry, and then the system would recognize certain settings. And then once they patch it, they can opt to be like, yeah, we're just going to make it, in the base system that you can't see that's closed source. That's why it's kind of it's Wild West because it's like half of it's hidden, or I don't even know how much of it's hidden, but some of it's closed source, basically. It's Microsoft.
Is that for
Yep.
bad actors or just to kind of keep their stuff proprietary?
Proprietary, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It's not Linux, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you said the log4j thing. I was thinking about that. You can actually go into the registry and delete that registry or turn that registry key off and then be vulnerable to log4j attack. I forgot about that. That's a good point. Cool. To caveat the Registry Explorer, these are some more, common Registry Explorer or registry really hives. The more common ones for, HKey current config, current user, and like the two main ones that we really want to focus down on are, the system and the user, right? Because the system itself has a hive or a registry really, where it's, the SAM security and software. And then the HKey current user, which is your nt.dat and dat.log, which is really focused just on user activity, what the user did. There's a registry key where you can literally go in and see how much time a user spent on what screen. So if a user spent 15 minutes on YouTube, it's going to log that. If a user spent 15 minutes on a Word document, it's going to log that also. You're going to be able to see all of that. Anything else before we move off registry? Cool. That brings us to Timeline Explorer. So Timeline Explorer is how we're going to view all this. It is literally a Excel document, Excel tool. It's way better. It's one of those things where you can't edit, but you can manipulate and you can move and you can globally search the data, and you can allow things to stand out and look more vibrant. Is a great way I like to think of it. Down at the bottom, this is what I like to do. It's kind of like, what's the word? Making pivot tables, which are great, but you can just drag and drop them. So I've got, file name up top and then in use, down at the bottom. So then I'm searching by, individual file name. So, we're already sorting there and then, seeing whether or not it was in use. Right. And I guess I can't see it on screen right now, but it is definitely a must-have. Your computer, when you go to install it, your computer may ask you to install a .NET. That's totally normal. Just throwing it out there. Some computers don't have it the version it needs in by default. But we can mess around with it in the open discussion if you guys want, or if you guys have any questions now, we can go over. Cool. So browser history view. This is a great tool. I use it all the time. Use it pretty much, almost any type of time I'm doing forensics, where it requires me to search it, browser history. If you actually see, this is me searching 0404, going to their website. One thing I like to point out is if you see, Internet Explorer activity within this, Windows specifically, or clearly only Windows, still records, sometimes history and other browser artifacts and still stores them within Internet Explorer. So this tool is great for, Firefox, Chromium based, Opera. It's got too many browsers to count that it'll view most of them. Maybe not like Python, but yeah. So history, caches, cookies, bookmarks, downloads, preferences, auto loads. It's got a lot. It's got a lot more. So it's definitely a great recommended tool for any forensics CTF that you've got going on. And then yeah, I think that's about it for this tool. Any questions? Cool. And then we got SQLite DB, which is again Firefox and Chromium-based browsers. Chromium-based and Firefox, not only do they store within generic text files, or I think Chrome likes to do protobuf logs, but they also like to do databases. And so, for example, Firefox loves stores their history file within places.sqlite. So this tool is used to view the different tables within that, and you can view the different history. On the bottom left, I got the corresponding IDs that go along with that history URL. Cool. Move on. And then we come to Event Log Explorer. Event Log Explorer is a much more granular way of parsing event logs if you like a GUI format. It does newer format and the older format. You can, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort based on timestamp, date, whatever you want it to be. You can do custom queries to look in through different log formats and do different parsing fields. I think it might have some form of scripting within it too. Don't quote me on it though. I'd have to go back and double check. But if I want to make a custom query, for 3 different log types, and then looking for specifically, 4624s, which is the Microsoft Windows logon, you could totally do that in this tool. Any questions? Cool. All right, moving into my fun stuff for artifacts and tips and tricks. The Sans Red Poster is probably the one-stop shop for 90% of your endpoint forensics needs, right? It's going to cover prefetch, it's going to cover amcache, it's going to cover the MFT, things on here that you've never seen. It's going to have browser activities. It's got a ton. I'm going to actually go ahead and open it up for you guys, just because I think it's hard. You can't just picture it just in here. So that's why I want to pop this open real quick. And let's see if we can't get you guys to see it. Cool. So this is the Sans Red Poster. At the top right, we've got our Windows time rules. So if you're familiar with MACD timestamps, or modified access created and born, those are the timestamps that forensics analysts want to live by, or incident response, really. Anything that you want to build out a timeline with. And what is the biggest question is, when did it happen? And then what is the most prevalent time? Because one file you may have multiple timestamps for, which is so that the fact that it's just right there, readily available. You can go download this if you just sign up for Sans account. It's free, and you can download all their posters. So we've got application execution, file openings, and for this coming up CTF this weekend, I highly recommend that you download this and use the different resources that are on there. Deleted items, and maybe where they be, user assists, jump lists. It just keeps going. Browser activity, cloud, counts, network, external system. This has got registry. It's got generic file exploration. It's got everything. So it's a great tool that I like to bring up here. And then I want to go over to sorry, excuse my I'm going to go over to the next slide, but it's also a Sans poster, so I want to share that as well with you guys. Any questions on the red poster? I'm opening this up.
Just wanted to say thank you very much. I mean, I'm a Sans guy, and I haven't seen that before. What course was that associated with there, Cool Cat?
That
DFIR. Yeah.
the red poster is associated with the 4 or 500. So that's the their essentially their endpoint forensics course. So great course. If you ever have a chance to take it, loved every second of it. Chad Tilbury is the course instructor and author, or one of the authors, and nobody's paying me to say this, but he's definitely the reason that I keep attending SANS and keep diving into forensics.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm a SANS novice myself. I did GICSP, so what is it, ICS 410? So yeah, but I love those courses. A little pricey, but I do love them, and they're great if you can get in and be a in-class facilitator. That's a good deal. But thank you very much. Actually, this is fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. So this comes to my, my next tips and tricks. This is the Eric Zimmerman SANS poster, which is essentially different Eric Zimmerman tools, how to run them, different locations on, where you're going to run them at. And that's, awesome content with this one too. It's one of my other second favorite posters next to, I think, the blue poster, which is a little bit out of scope, but see, it's even got, Timeline Explorer in here, parsing the MFT. We've got, basic usage, registry, command line explorer, tips and tricks. Another great tool that I recommend downloading, especially for the CTF coming up. Keep having to change screens. Been playing well. Cool. Where are we at? Cool. Brings me to here. And then I guess, yeah, closing out, let's go ahead and finish up with an open discussion. If anybody, wants to talk about setting up their, their VM or, different artifacts that they want to go into depth on, or maybe you see something on a red poster or whatever it is, let's get at it.
Really quick, actually, Sorry.
By the way, where can you find those posters?
You can go to SANS and SANS.org and just type in like Google like SANS red poster or Eric Zimmerman poster. You'll have to create an account and you can download them. I will be dropping them in the chat after this talk though. Just only the red team poster and the Eric Zimmerman poster though, along with the slide deck. All my slide deck also has links to all the CTFs and all the other resources. So if anything's underlined, feel free to click on that and it'll take you right to it.
Would you say that the tools that you show here is like a sneak peek or hints at what we could use for a CTF?
I wouldn't say it's a sneak peek, but I would definitely say it's a hint on what you should be downloading and preparing for this coming weekend. Yes.
Got it.
So anything that I showed here tonight, or Barry Sployd or Donnie or me have shown in the past few weeks, along with our different preparation talks to lead up to the CTF, which you can go find on Noel's YouTube channel, and they're all going to be correlated to this this upcoming CTF. So that's also another resource that you guys have. When you come down to the, maybe you're stuck on a challenge and you can't remember that one artifact, you can go zoom through, double time video, or run through these slide decks, and you'll be able to hopefully find out what you're looking for.
Oh, do you mind if I share my screen real quick? I'll show off the webpage for everybody to get started on.
Go for it.
Cool. So yeah, and thanks again. Great talk, Cool Cat. Let me share. So sorry, let me try to find my browser here. Here we go. All right, you guys see my browser?
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, this is our webpage here for the CTF this week. CTF.044.org. You can come here. You can register. If you have an account, you can log in. The gang got put together this cool getting started guide here. So feel free to check this out. And then for the CTF, we got. Is it what time are we starting at? Is it 9 a.m. on Friday?
I believe it's 10. I want to say
10. Okay. Yeah, we'll be posting a lot more before, like as days progress, getting closer to the event. All the details on times and stuff like that. But it's gonna be throughout the whole weekend, Friday through Sunday, I believe. And we do have an open CTF channel too, right now for everybody. It's open CTF chat.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what we're is that what we're gonna be using for like discussions and all that.